Hey there guys, SaintsKnight here, welcoming you guys back to the channel here with another episode of the F1 show. And today we are going to be looking at the, I think it was Japanese or Chinese Grand Prix, one of those, the newest Grand Prix, which you can tell that my mind isn't really working as much properly, but today we're going to be diving into the full race weekend, qualifying race and whatnot. Well, practice, we're not going to do practices, well, as usual, practice has always been the most boring. And we're actually going to find the driver of the race for us. So what is it? Let's dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to keep seeing the F1 show on the channel, you know what to do. Don't forget to smash the thumbs up button. So without further ado, let's dive into qualifying. So let's get the chart up, please. Thank you very much. And as you can see on the chart, well, as usual, Sebastian Lewis Hamilton, goddammit, is on pole, as per usual, with a time of 1:27.7, which honestly isn't really that bad of a time. I mean, considering it is Suzuka he went around. And his teammate Valtteri Bottas went second place, so we've got a Mercedes 1-2 at the grid. Bottas was only about 2.99 seconds slower, and from there on in the grid actually gets a little bit strange because Verstappen, my boy Verstappen, is actually in third place with a 1:29 time, which isn't really too bad. Although, if you consider that it's about 1.7 seconds slower than Hamilton, then you think, what the heck? But the big question, where is Vettel? Vettel is actually here, in 9th place, which I don't know why, but he put that in a time of 1:32.1, which, if you compare his time to Hamilton's time, 4.432 seconds slower, which, what? It mustn't be Ferrari's day. I mean, his teammate Kimi Räikkönen actually outpaced him by quite a bit, which I gotta say, Ferrari, I don't know what's going on with Ferrari today. Ferraris are getting seriously outpaced, and I don't know why it is. Maybe their championship stint, or their race to the championship, is at an end, although I don't want it to be. We need a Ferrari like on the grid to actually keep competing, keep outmaneuvering and all that sort of stuff. It just keeps it a little bit more exciting. As the old boss Bernie Eccleston said, that it wouldn't be Formula One without a Ferrari on the front grid or even a McLaren, which I don't see would be possible. Now, race day. Now, race day was a bit of an interesting one actually, because it was a lot of these Grand Prix have been intense, nail-biters, on the seat, the edge of the seat racing, and a lot of outs. This race was actually no exception to that, because if we get up this chart, as you can see, we've got 3 people out of this race, but we'll gloss over those for now. We'll come back to them later, but first of all, we gotta talk about the elephant in the corner by a lot of people, Max Verstappen. Now, Verstappen, this race, I don't know why, but actually, Verstappen this race, he went back to his roots. He went back to his old-fashioned style of being aggressive and like being like I said, being aggressive and you're not giving up, trying to keep his pace. Which on the first lap, that didn't go too well with him, because I think in this race particularly, he seemed to have a thing for Ferraris, because on the first lap, he had a little slight mishap with Kimi Räikkönen as they were both coming towards, I think Verstappen ran off, went really wide, missed his braking line, so he went off track, and as he was coming on, Räikkönen actually was he was trying to get back into the racing line, but Räikkönen was actually on the racing line, so they pushed him off slightly, which in turn the FIA decided to give Verstappen a 5-second time penalty due to that mishap. But I mean, I looked at the footage a lot, and honestly, I know a lot of people are saying that Verstappen should have slowed down as soon as he saw Raikkonen come the opposite direction. But honestly, given the circumstances, I don't think there was a lot that he could have done. And also, actually, you'd think that'd be end of Verstappen's run, but no. Actually, on lap number 8, about 7 laps later, he had a mishap with another Ferrari, this time by Sebastian Vettel, which caused both of them to go off track. But Vettel spun, did like a 180-degree spin, which had him like facing the other way, and Verstappen ran wide off the track, which the FIA didn't give any penalties for that, which a lot of people, I believe, even myself, were a bit like, how? Which, I mean, Verstappen should have been penalised for that just a bit, but still. Let's see. But it's not just those two that were getting into the action. Charles Leclerc and I think Kevin Magnussen were part of the entire squabble, as Leclerc actually as Magnussen was going too slow for Leclerc, and which caused Leclerc to actually give Magnussen a puncture and get him out of the race, ending his race completely by going into the pit and then pitting out. Leclerc, Karma got Leclerc in the end though, because Leclerc actually ended up going out of the race due to an engine failure, and so did Hulkenberg. But for the life of me, I could not see why Hulkenberg went out. I think that maybe it was an engine problem, maybe it was a transmission issue, maybe he couldn't be arsed. I don't know. But Hulkenberg actually went out of the race there. So in the end, Mercedes started off 1-2, ended up finishing 1-2 on the grid, with Hamilton being first and Bottas being second. And despite the 5-second penalty, Verstappen ended up finishing third, completing the top 3 in the podium. So it was a good race for Mercedes, who take a 1-2 victory, who extend their lead in the Constructors' Championship, and it extends Hamilton's lead in the driver's standings. Speaking of which, how do they stand? How big the gap? Let's bring up that chart, and as you can see, Hamilton has now increased his lead with Vettel by 67 points, which means that Hamilton is on 331 points. Now, a little bit of a fun trivia for you. The gap here is actually, if we compare this season and last season's stats by this race, by this time last year, both of them are actually quite similar. Actually, well, the only difference being 1 point more for Hamilton last season than it is this season, but apart from that, the gap is actually pretty similar. Whereas, and for Max Verstappen, he is in 5th place with 173 points. Now, he's 23 points behind Raikkonen, and I believe Verstappen can actually make that gap, because he's a good driver and he can actually get those points. Overall though, the Japanese Grand Prix was a pretty interesting one, to say the least. A lot of action, a lot of tension, and all that goodness. Now for our driver of the day, it's again a pretty tough one to call for a driver of the race, but despite that, I'm going to give it to Daniel Ricciardo, because compared to where he started on the grid, where he started from the grid compared to where he finished, he did an amazing job getting to where he was, and he actually did a fantastic job at actually securing those points and securing where he ended up. So Daniel Ricciardo, the AllSaints driver of the driver of the race, or driver of Japan. So those are our thoughts on the Japanese Grand Prix. What did you guys think? Whatever your thoughts, whatever your opinions, whatever your minds are bubbling, leave them in the comments down below. And apart from that, I'm afraid it's now time to end today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please smash the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and if you're not new, then do not forget to click the bell icon next to the subscribe button to get notified on all upcoming videos. And apart from that, guys, we will see you in the next video. So until then, it's your boy SaintsKnight here, signing off.